Genealogy of the British royal family. Are the British royal family really German? Considering that they are such a British institution, the British royal family may not be as British as you think. It is often said that the Windsors are in fact mostly German. While they are descendant from the German House of Hanover, that's not quite the whole story. Several women and 2 men of various nationalities have married British monarchs, meaning Queen Elizabeth II and her heirs, Prince Charles and Prince William, have quite an interesting genealogy. Let's investigate where the branches of the royal family tree came from. Let's begin with the founder of the current royal bloodline, George I. When Queen Anne of the Stuart dynasty, which by the way had its origins in Scotland, died without an heir in 1707, Parliament scoured the royal family tree for the next in line to the throne. After centuries of bloody conflict between Catholics and Protestants, they were determined that no Catholic would ever again wear the crown. So they passed over 50 closer relations because of their religion. Anne's nearest Protestant relative was her second cousin, George, the Elector of Hanover. George was the great-grandson of King James I of England and VI of Scotland. Through him, the new Hanoverian dynasty could trace their lineage all the way back to William the Conqueror in 1066. Hanover was located in northwestern Germany and was at the time part of the Holy Roman Empire. The 54-year-old king didn't speak a word of English and had no interest in learning. He disdained his new kingdom and spent most of his time at home in Germany. George I's father, Ernst Augustus, was a mostly German stock, while his mother, Sophia, was the granddaughter of King James, hence the connection to the British royal family. We could go back further, but where does it end? So, for simplicity's sake, let's call George I 75% German and 25% Scottish. In the spirit of not getting too convoluted, we will be looking back no more than 3 generations to glean heritage, rounding to the nearest 0.5% and dropping off heritage when it drops below 2%. George II was a lot more fond of his new English kingdom than his father had been. He declared, "I haven't a drop of blood in my veins which is not English." But that wasn't strictly true. His mother, Sophia Dorothea of Celle, had a French mother and a German father, so that makes George II 25% French, a little Scottish, but mostly German. He married Caroline of Ansbach, another German. Their son Frederick hated his father, who returned his vitriol. The prince set up his own rival court. George cut Frederick's allowance, and the two badmouthed each other constantly. Frederick and his German wife, Augusta of Saxe-Gotha, had 9 children together. But Frederick never got the chance to be king. At 44, he was hit in the stomach by a tennis ball, and the resulting ulcer burst and killed him. King George II lived to the ripe old age of 76 and died on the toilet. His grandson, Frederick's eldest son, became King George III at 22. He was the first Hanoverian king to be born in the United Kingdom. His wife, Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, appears to be yet another German bride, but her heritage is a bit more interesting. She was also a distant descendant of the Portuguese royal family. Her ancestry has been traced to 13th century ruler Alfonso III and his lover Madragana, who may have been a black Moor. This would mean that Charlotte was Britain's first biracial queen. Her contemporaries said that Charlotte had an unmistakable African appearance, though if this were true, and not just court speculation about her heritage, portraits of her likely would have downplayed these features. While this is a fascinating possibility, Madragana and Charlotte were separated by 500 years and 15 generations. If Charlotte did have Moorish heritage, it would have been much less than 1%, so we will have to call her 100% German as well. George III was king during the American and French Revolutions and during the enactment of the Enclosures Act, which consolidated what was once common land used by the people into the private possession of the aristocracy and created an even wider gulf between the wealthy and the poor. He ruled for a record-breaking 59 years, but suffered from severe and debilitating mental health issues later in life. George and Charlotte had 15 children. The eldest, also named George, ruled as regent during his father's incapacitation. This period from 1811 to 1820 is known as the Regency era. He married his cousin, Caroline of Brunswick, who was, you guessed it, German. The couple hated each other and only had one child, Charlotte, who was conceived on their wedding night. Charlotte died tragically at 21 after giving birth to a stillborn son. As Charlotte had been the only legitimate child of the Prince of Wales, his brothers rushed to ditch their mistresses and marry royal brides in the hopes of fathering a future monarch. The Prince Regent became King George IV following his father's death in 1820. He was famous for his gluttony and lechery. He lived with flair and spent buckets on stylish clothes and redecorating his palaces, and was thus deeply disdained by the people. When he died after 10 years on the throne, his brother became King William IV. He was also married to a German, Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen, but sadly their 2 daughters died in childhood. King William's heir was his niece, Victoria, daughter of his brother Edward, Duke of Kent, who had died when Princess Victoria was less than a year old. Victoria's mother, Victoria of Saxe-Coburg and Saalfeld, was, wait for it, German. Her brother, Leopold, who was Princess Charlotte's widower, became king of the Belgians, but their family was still quite German. Princess Victoria was raised by her mother and kept away from the court and her paternal family. She spoke fluent German and grew up with a great fondness for her maternal homeland, in addition to her love for the British Isles. She inherited the throne from her uncle at the age of 18 and married her maternal cousin Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. At this point, the name of the British royal house changed from the German Hanover to the 3 times as German Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. The couple observed many German traditions, and they popularized the Tannenbaum, or Christmas tree, in Britain. Albert built Balmoral Castle in Scotland as a retreat for his family, as the rolling hills and wild countryside reminded him of his German homeland. Victoria and Albert had 9 children, 5 of whom married Germans. Victoria's reign saw extensive expansion of the British Empire and lasted 63 years, breaking her grandfather's record. She died in 1901, and her son became King Edward VII. He was famous for his love of food and women. He married Alexandra, daughter of Christian IX of Denmark. She brought some Danish blood to the British royal family, but still had a lot of German heritage. Their eldest son, Albert Victor, was a playboy like his old man. He was engaged to marry Princess Mary of Teck, but he died of influenza shortly before the wedding. His younger brother George took his place in the line of succession and at the altar. He married Mary of Teck, who was mostly German, but had a grandmother, Countess Claudine Rede von Kieserede, who was Hungarian. She was born in Transylvania and was a descendant of Vlad the Impaler, popularly known as Dracula. George V was raised in the Navy, which fit his serious and rather boring personality. In 1914, he went to war with his first cousin, Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany, in a little family feud known as World War I. To learn more about these 2 quarrelsome cousins, check out my video on the grandchildren of Queen Victoria. In light of the aversion to all things German during the conflict, King George V changed the royal family's name from Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to the much more British-sounding Windsor, after his favorite castle. He also decreed that his descendants would no longer be required to marry foreign royals, as by this time there were very few of them left. Following his death, the throne went to his eldest son, Edward VIII. He abdicated in less than a year to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson, who happened to be a Nazi sympathizer. His younger brother, George VI, saw serving the nation as his duty, so he reluctantly took the throne right on the eve of World War II. He was married to Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, the daughter of a Scottish nobleman, Claude Bowes-Lyon, 14th Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn. Elizabeth became the first non-royal to be married to an English monarch since Henry VIII married Catherine Parr in 1543. And she gave the British monarchy its first infusion of actual British blood in over 200 years. According to my research, their daughter, Elizabeth, the current Queen of the United Kingdom, has a heritage that is approximately 38% German, 25% Scottish, 25% English, 6% Danish, and 6% Hungarian. Elizabeth inherited the throne in 1952 when her father died unexpectedly young from lung cancer. She married Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, which sounds rather exotic for this family, but his heritage is in fact mostly German. His grandfather, George I, was a Danish prince and son of King Christian IX, whose family had a lot of German heritage mixed in with the Danish. George I was elected King of Greece in 1863, and the family moved there. His wife was Grand Duchess Olga Konstantinova of the Russian royal family, the Romanovs. Prince Philip's mother was Alice of Battenberg, a descendant of German royals and of Queen Victoria's second daughter, Alice, so again, German. That makes Elizabeth and Philip second cousins through Christian IX of Denmark and third cousins through Queen Victoria. If you've noticed all the looped branches in this family tree and you're interested to learn more, check out my videos on royal incest and inbreeding. Queen Elizabeth and Philip's son, Prince Charles, who is next in line to the throne, married Diana Spencer, daughter of John, the 8th Earl Spencer. The English aristocratic Spencer family was established in the 15th century and also counts Prime Minister Winston Churchill as a member. He and Diana were distant cousins. Diana's mother, Frances Roche, was from a noble Irish family. Her father was the Baron of Fermoy. Diana was deeply loved by the people for her character, style, and charity work. She died tragically in a car crash at the age of 36. Her son, William, who is second in line to the throne after his father, married Catherine Middleton, whom he met at the University of St. Andrew. Her parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, are neither royal nor noble, though they are successful business owners. Michael's father, pilot Peter Middleton, helped to train Prince Philip to fly in the early 1960s. There has been speculation that the Duchess of Cambridge may be partly Jewish, as her mother Carol's surname is Goldsmith. However, Lawrence Harris of the Jewish Genealogical Society says that there is no evidence of Jewish branches in Kate's family tree. Many non-Jews have Jewish-sounding names, and there are records of Christian church baptisms, weddings, and burials in Carol's family going back 5 generations. So we will call Catherine Middleton 100% English. That means that William and Catherine's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, who are 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the line of succession respectively, are a mix of 66% English, 15% German, 12% Irish, 3% Scottish, 2.5% Danish, and 1.5% Russian. If and when it is George's turn to be King of the UK, he will be the most British monarch the kingdom has had in over 300 years. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and check out my other royal history videos. If you really want to help, please consider supporting me on Patreon. A link is in the description. Thank you for watching.